Hey guys, Sarah here. So today I'm actually going to go through the sort of drama, if that's what you want to call it, that happened about a month ago now. Um, I was told that there were a lot of things that I have said here and there that are incorrect, and it is I feel like my duty to correct those. So I'm going to be doing that in this video, and I'm sorry if it's super long and kind of rambly. I will try to put like timestamps in the description or maybe in a pinned comment so that you guys can kind of go to things that most fit you, or things that you're most interested in hearing about, or things that maybe you're more curious about, or just whatever. I'm actually going to go through point by point, if possible, the messages that were sent to me by someone who I'm still not going to name who it is. A lot of you, probably most of you who watched that video know who it is because they commented on that video, the one where I was talking about how I wasn't going to do educational content anymore, and I was truly distraught at that point. And it has taken about a month for me to recover, but I'm recovered enough that I can actually read through the messages again without my heart rate like bursting out of my chest. So I'm just going to go through them. Like I said, I'm sorry that this is going to be long. If you have to play it on 1.5 speed, or you just want to skip to something that you care about more, feel free to do that. And I know that a lot of you probably, if you care about that other video, you notice that I made it unlisted. It's still available. I'll put a link either above or in the description, or both, for you guys to go reference that video. It's unlisted just because when people come into my channel, I don't want that to be like the first thing that they see. But I do want to make it available to people who have a link, so I'm providing you guys with a link if you want context. It is drama. Like I you know, a lot of people are like, oh well, you know, you wouldn't have been so dramatic if you didn't want the attention. Which was some criticism that I did get on that video. And the truth is, like, if I genuinely just wanted the attention, I would have been, like, all up in comments and all up in, like, you know, riling everything up. But I wasn't. I deleted Facebook from my phone. I deleted, like, all these apps I deleted from my phone just so I wouldn't, like, have the attention. Like, I didn't want to experience that. But I am actually going to try to set my sort of emotions aside and just sort of kind of have more of a conversation, even though I know you guys aren't talking back to me. Sorry, my nose itches. This is just sort of a raw recording of me going through this. Yeah, just point by point. So the first point that was brought up to me was that the red mask mutation, also known as the sort of basic red factor mutation, are the same thing, at least according to what I have, this person has sent me. Red factor has been used in a lot of different places to talk about this red enhancing mutation, and I honestly don't know where I said anything about red mask not being a red factor mutation. But apparently at some point in the past, I had said that it was either a whole separate mutation or a selectively bred type of a mutation. I'm not really sure what I said about this mutation that was incorrect, because in my brain, like, I remember thinking about it in the way that this person was describing it to me, but they keep acting like I have said it incorrectly or something. So the original name for a dominant red enhancing mutation was red mask, but because it was being confused for the mask mutation, MASQUE, the name was changed to red factor. So red factor then I guess is just, or red mask is just a different like term for red factor. I'm not really sure, like I said, where I have said that incorrectly. But since I was told that at some point, somewhere, I had said it incorrectly, I just thought I would let you guys know that that is the correct way to use that term. The next kind of little section of the messages, I'm actually looking at them on my computer, which is underneath where my camera is sitting. So the next portion is going over like how I should have approached writing my book and peer review and stuff like that. And there's it's a very large section of text. It was so large that when I tried to just copy it on my phone to paste it in a notes app, my phone couldn't copy everything. There were so many like characters that my phone couldn't even copy it. So I had to actually go to my computer and copy and paste into a Word file, which is what I'm looking at now, which is probably better than a text file anyway. But so essentially this just says that, and this video also is going to go over corrections in my book as well, some of them. At least the ones that are mentioned like in this list. So pretty much I was saying that like I couldn't, for one, I don't know, there's so much in here. I'm sorry. I think the first big thing that was mentioned was that I did not send a copy to colleagues to have peer reviewed, which is not entirely the case. I actually did sit down with a lot of people and asked them, sent them copies of portions of the book that I knew that they were going to be involved in. There were a few places where this person specifically was left out of that. However, I did send this person a copy of the book when I first wrote it, before it was available to the public. I sent a physical copy for free to this person. And that was back in 2018, before it was like formally published, or maybe like right after it was formally published. Like I said, before it was available to the public, I sent this person a copy and never heard from them. And so when you send someone who, has been involved in the community for a while, a copy of a book that has information about them in it, I guess I thought that back in 2018, which is 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, I guess it's 3 years ago, probably closer to 3 than 4, more like 3.5, I guess, years ago. I guess I thought and I assumed, which maybe I shouldn't have assumed, that this person, if they had an issue, would have brought it up back then, instead of waiting 3 years and then sending me a like gigantic wall of text about how terrible of a writer I am suddenly 3 years later. I'm not defending the mistakes that were made, for sure. But I did have a couple of people in the very beginning that said, oh, hey, you misspelled this person's name. Or, oh, hey, it was actually, this morph and this morph that were bred together to create this, not this other morph that you thought it was. And I corrected those things in the book before I made it available to the public. So, I'm not really sure why it hasn't been an issue for 3 years, and then all of a sudden it's an issue that, I don't know. But, they say we who publish do X, Y, and Z, and I do feel like I did that. But, again, not defending my mistakes. I'm just going through this point by point. I'm sorry that we're already 10 minutes through this and I haven't hardly said anything or done anything. Hold on, just give me a second to read through the next like paragraph so that I can like condense it for you guys and answer it. One thing that was said in here was that you can't go back and correct mistakes that are in a publication because people expect the original publication to be completely correct. And to a point, yes, I agree with that. However, I also know that Chuck Pritzel was writing a whole bunch of his like morph books, and that's part of like my book was kind of meant to continue his work sort of unofficially and not exactly, but just to sort of give an update on what he had started. And he definitely laid the foundation, Chuck Pritzel did, for all of this stuff. And so, but I do know that he put out like, I don't know, 8 or 10 different editions of his book, where there was some information in it that we now know is incorrect. Even the most recent one of his, there's some information in there that we now know is incorrect. So, I understand what he's saying. I understand that, people will look at this, like my book, and expect it to be 100% correct, when it was published. But also, like, I have read your guys' comments, and a lot of you have said, we don't expect you to be right all the time. Like, just make an updated edition and just start selling it with the correct information. And, you know, like, I really appreciate that. And I do want everyone to know that I have read all the positive and overwhelmingly amazing comments that you guys have left and messages that you've sent, because, like, they really did, like, keep me from, like, falling off the edge of whatever. Like, I'm not gonna go into the details of, like, my depression and stuff like that, but you guys kind of really helped me come back from the brink, and my best friend and my husband sort of making sure that I read those emails and those, excuse me, burp, and those messages, because I was avoiding, like, all messages and all, not all messages necessarily, because I wanted my business to, like, I wanted to respond to people who were talking to my business directly, but I was avoiding comments, all comments. And my best friend and my husband were like, at least read these. And so they'd show me specific ones, and I just want you guys to know that I do see them and I do appreciate them. And I don't know why I went down this tangent. But all that is to say, yes, I have seen your comments, and I know that most of you are just like, just correct it and move on. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, is just, like, let you guys be aware of the corrections and move on. So let me pause this again really quick and get to the next section so that I can help correct those things. Okay, like, another really quick thing that was mentioned was that I need to put a disclaimer on anything saying that, you know, stuff in this book might not be completely factual or be complete just in general. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I have put that disclaimer, like, on my channel and on my website and everything. I don't think that the majority of people expect me to do that. I mean, my book is not meant to be like a scientific journal. My book is not meant to be the end-all be-all of everything corn snakes. I've never, ever advertised it to be that. But aside from what I've said or done, I do intend from now on for that disclaimer or something similar to that to be in my book, because there are still things that I'm still learning, and there's things that, you know, no matter how much I research it, I may have, like, found a quote by someone who said something that I thought was true, but that person ended up being, you know, that person ended up lying or something. And so there's not always, like, I don't always know when people are lying. And the best thing that I have done is to go back and like, look at all these forums, and when someone says, I did this breeding and this was my result, and so this is what mutation I think, or this is what I think is going on with this mutation, like, I do take them at their word, and so I quote that person, and then I did cite all my sources. That's another thing that was told to me that I was not doing well, is that I wasn't citing things correctly. All of my sources are in the back, and yes, a lot of them are forum posts, because when it comes to the corn snake community, what else really do we have? We have a few books, a few scientific journals here and there, a few little things that are trickled in, but 90, maybe 99% of it or more is forum posts, Facebook posts, stuff like that. How do you reference a Facebook post? How do you reference an old forum post? And the best thing I did was just put the link in the back, and since the majority of the people who have purchased the book, like, the majority of the book sales, I guess I should say, were digital sales, you can literally just click on the link in the book and it'll take you to that post wherever it is, which is why I wanted it to be mostly a digital thing, and that's how a lot of this is done anymore. A lot of people, and again, my book was never meant to be a scientific journal. It was just meant to be a basic, like, here's what kind of corn snakes there are, here's how they came to be, and here's who proved it out. That's literally all they were ever meant to be, was just a general, very basic, anyone off the street could pick up this book and read it and have a little bit better of an understanding of corn snakes. I'm sorry that I keep trying to defend myself. I know that I shouldn't. I should just move on. But I just want to, like, as I go through, sort of mention what this person said, and then also mention my thoughts on it and correct things as I go along. So I'm going to pause it again. There's going to be a cut. Okay, so one thing that was mentioned was if anyone is willing to, like, help me fix my mistakes, then they should get credit for the information. which I did give credit to everyone who I spoke to in the front of the book. I was like, this book was made, with the help of this list of people. And so I'm really not sure where this is coming from, because anyone that I did talk to is listed in the book as someone that had helped me. And I did send, like I said, I had many people, and I thought all the people that I contacted when I wrote the book to help me with the information. But this person specifically, if I recall, really did not want to help me with information. If I recall correctly, and I haven't gone back and looked through the messages to double check to make sure that I did this, but I was pretty sure that I sent hey, would you mind looking over these portions of the book to make sure that they're correct before I publish, and I don't remember getting a response. So I'm not really sure what else I could have done. However, this person also says that if they're going to spend time helping me, then it might as well be their book at this point. That's not a quote. None of these things are like quotes. I want to mention that I am paraphrasing things that this person said, because if I were to read the whole thing, it would be longer than just this video, which is almost like 20 minutes at this point, and I'm really sorry, but I just thought I would let you know. Okay, so the next actual thing that they talk about is the golden corns. And I had apparently said that Joe Pierce had determined the inheritance of the golden mutation. And what I remember thinking was that Joe Pierce actually proved it to not be the same as caramel. That's what I remember from my book, and I don't have my book in front of me. I'm not going to go get it. This person has claimed that I gave the inheritance to the wrong person, or the credit for the proving the inheritance to the wrong person. And apparently Rich Z, I think it was Z, or I'm sorry, not Rich Z. I'm sorry. I think it's actually Karsten Zoldi who this is. I think that Z is actually Karsten Zoldi, but I'm not even sure based on what this says in here. But I think that Z is Karsten Zoldi, and I knew that he, along with Shannon Brown, had both worked with Golden to discover that it was recessive. And I thought that I said that in the book. I thought that I mentioned that Karsten Zoldi was the one who found it and proved it recessive originally. And then just saying that Joe Pierce was the one who bred it with caramel to make sure that they were different. I don't, like I said, I don't have my book in front of me. And you guys are welcome to if you have my copy of the book, you're welcome to get it out and double check me, and that's fine. But I was told that I could be sued because of this. Because I wasn't clear enough about the distinction between Z, he's referring to Z, and I'm pretty sure that Z was Karsten Zoldi. I don't think it was Rich Zukowski, but he also says somewhere in here something about Z being Rich Z. By the way, Z is the nickname, okay, of who discovered the golden mutant. Let's see. To all his friends, his name is Z. Nobody expects you to know the name of Rich Zukowski every time you type caramel corn snake. I'm not really sure. That was just me reading part of that out loud, because I'm not really sure. But I think that Karsten Zoldi is the person that he's talking about. Karsten actually called me at one point, and we had a nice conversation. I don't even know how I got my phone number, but that doesn't really matter. But yeah, he did talk to me quite a bit about Golden, and so I can't imagine. It doesn't matter. So he said if Z cared, you could be sued. And I guess I'm not really sure. Maybe Z could sue me because I used his name in the book. I don't know. Whatever. That information is publicly available, so I understand that maybe the confusion here is that I maybe used, I don't know. I'm just going to move on. I'm really sorry. Give me a minute. I'm going to pause and I'm going to look this up. Okay, a couple other things that were pointed out. Basically, it's saying that I need to make sure that I give credit for certain publications, which again is in the back of my book for anything that was already published. So like Kathy Love's book and a couple of scientific journals and stuff like that. That was all referenced in the back of my book. I am modifying my book so that anyone who's already purchased a copy will get a free copy digitally, and I'm making it sort of easier to see where everything goes, because I know that I just put all of the links and information and all that stuff in the back of the book, and so that can make it kind of confusing. So I'm putting all of those in each page so that you guys can more easily figure out which link and which book and whatever is referencing certain things. So there's also this other thing where they say golden, just like Amel, Motley, blah, 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 is a mutation, not a morph. However, I'm not going to apologize for that one. I'm not going to apologize for that. The way that the majority of people understand morph is that it's anything that differs from the normal type. Anything that differs from the just basic type. And so as I mentioned in my book, all mutations are morphs, but not all morphs are mutations. So you have things like zigzag, that's not a mutation, but and that's still technically considered a morph. But then also things like anery, in my opinion, are still morphs. And I guess that's what I should put. I guess I should put in my book that is my opinion based on my understanding of certain definitions, and that's fine. You can, you can deduce what you want. I feel like this is really nitpicking. He said, I'm sorry that I said it was a he. I've been trying to keep gender neutral pronouns, but sorry. He did say that, I don't even remember where I was going to go with that, and I can't find what I was reading. Oh yeah, basically saying that he found 11 mistakes but then stopped reading. So he didn't even read my book in its entirety, which is fine. No one has to. He got it for free. So he got it for free 3 years ago, and is just now bringing it up. Otherwise, this is a quote. Otherwise, my grandma could do what you are doing. Half a day of reading about corns, publishing the highlights, and expecting strangers to fill in all of the gaps. End quote. And this was the person who said that they were just trying to help me. Most people who try to help me don't insult me in the middle of trying to help me, but that's fine. I guess that's his prerogative. Oh yeah, and I quote, if you want research among corn snake enthusiasts, do what writers do. Research, end quote. I actually researched for upwards of 5 or 6 years on this book. I remember giving the very first copy sort of it to one of my very close friends who also owns snakes. I printed it out on 9.5 by 11, or sorry, 8.5 by 11 paper, and he read it over, and obviously it wasn't perfect and it wasn't near as refined as what I ended up selling. But that was years ago. That was in 2015 or something. And so I have done research, but that's fine. He doesn't have to think that I've done research. But yeah, basically he's saying that I need to go down with my own ship in here, which again, super helpful quote going around there. Let me pause again and read the next section. Because this is all just one paragraph. He doesn't do actual paragraphs. So since I've pasted it into Word, I'm making paragraphs as I go. I'm dyslexic, so when people use run-on sentences or don't have any paragraphs, it's actually incredibly difficult for me to read it. So I'm going to pause this again and try to go through it really quick. So in this next section, it was kind of confusing for me because he's basically saying that this is his quote. I'm just going to quote this. Scientific publications are not authorized or validated as fact by a review entity. They are posts written by researchers or discoverers. They are meant to convey the opinion of one scientist / writer. End quote. So basically he's saying that if I were to quote a scientist in their research papers, then the information that I'm saying could be wrong. I think that's what he's trying to get at here. And so basically, I'm not really sure the point of him saying that, but I just thought I would mention it. So basically, anything that I say or anything that literally anyone else says, you know, is not correct, or cannot be considered to be wholly factual, as he says. So like, again, I'm not really sure what the, you know, why he would say that, but whatever. This next point that he makes is not something that's in my book. I can't ever remember. I remember typing this in a very brief time back in 2015, and this was something that someone else had brought to my attention. Again, 2015. Oh wait, was it 20? I think it was in 2015 that I wrote this, or maybe 2016. It was a while ago. Kisatchies do not have large eyes. Okay. Apparently at some point I had said that they had larger eyes, and I don't know. And Kisatchie rat snakes are not a type of corn snake. I had at some point called them Kisatchie corn snakes, which is what they're commonly called still, but you know, whatever. Just sort of mentioning that. I know that I've mentioned that before, but I'm mentioning it again. Silverleaf mutation was discovered by J.K. Ledruge, I think is how you say that, which I don't remember talking about the silverleaf mutation in my book because it wasn't a corn snake mutation. My book was on corn snakes. I know that in the hybrids section of, I can't remember if it was the first book or the second book. I'm pretty sure it was the second book. I might have mentioned that hybrid, but I don't, this is not a part of my book for sure. But I'm just mentioning that in case anyone was confused. Silverleaf is a Kisatchie rat snake mutation, not a corn snake mutation, and Kisatchie rat snakes are not a form of corn snake. So I just want to say, I'm going to just quote this part of the conversation so that you guys can get it. The person who, this is a quote from this message. The person who sent me to your works yesterday told me that they thought there were mistakes, asking for my opinion. Others are reading your works expecting them to be factual and accurate. Frankly, many of your writings about corn snake mutations are mostly wrong and only partially right. So, end quote. So like, what I'm understanding from this is not actually part of my book. These were things that, like I said, were sent to, that I wrote like years and years and years ago, back when I didn't know any better. And, you know, I try to go back and fix my old mistakes. And I know that around this same time I posted, hey, I said this in 2015, and this is actually what is correct, or this other thing is actually correct. And I really didn't think a whole lot of it, but apparently this person ran straight to this other person to sort of just try to make me look bad, I guess. I don't really know. But I have also, like, this is not in my published works at all, like as far as officially published works. So I'm not sure why. I guess I don't really understand why someone is going through and digging up every single word I've ever said over the course of the last like decade, just to send it to this person and say, look, she was wrong. Look, she was wrong. And like, I get it. I've been wrong. And I admit that I have said things that were incorrect. And I feel bad for those things. And like, I wouldn't be making all these videos and trying so hard to like bring you guys this information if I didn't feel like you didn't deserve the right information. Everybody deserves the right information, and I am genuinely doing the best I can, but I understand that that doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to pause this again and go through the next section because it seems like now he's changing the subject, so I'm going to pause it, read this, and come back to you with like a response. Okay, the next section is going through again. He still believes that I attributed the proving out of the golden mutation to Joe Pierce, telling me not to guess and stuff like that. And again, like I you know what? I'm just going to pause and I'm going to go find my copy of my book and I'm going to see what I said. Okay, I have it right here. All right, so I'm just going to read. Original female was caught by Carson Zoldi, South Carolina. 2006, a male was bred back to her. The first golden to het golden breeding happened, resulted in golden and het golden offspring, proving the gene recessive. And then I said the gene, and I, of course, meant gene mutation. Most of my corrections in my book is fixing gene versus gene mutation because I was using that incorrectly. Had died for many years, but then Joe Pierce had acquired some of the het goldens, and in 2016, he successfully hatched 2.1 golden babies. Some trials were done to prove golden was not compatible with caramel in 2016. So that's what I said in my book. Like, I mean, literally, I'm just gonna, you guys can read that, pause if you have to. That's what I read. So I literally did give Carson Zoldi credit for finding and proving it in my book, which I'm actually kind of relieved at the very least that something that I said, something that this person is accusing me of doing, I didn't actually do, because I have felt terrible about this for a month. And now that I actually look at the actual published book, I think that maybe this person was misreading what I said. Either that or they were going off of something that I had said years and years ago. I literally, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to pause again, read a little bit more, and then respond. I'm sorry this is so long, but I just want to get through it. Here he says, can you imagine a journalist for a newspaper not wanting to take the time to prove what they are publishing is correct? End quote. What's funny about that is a lot of journalists have been proven wrong and they don't lose their jobs. It literally said, after this, they'd lose their job on their first article. And listen, I can think of a lot of journalists who publish for like big newspapers that post things that are incorrect all the time and they don't get fired for it. So like, I understand what he's saying, and I understand that people should try to be as correct as possible, but I think that that's a little bit of an overreach. Pretty much is insinuating that I should be fired from Corn Snakes because he didn't approve of my book, which is fine. At some point, he mentions I misquoted the guys at Reptilinks at one point, and that is my bad. I think this might have been when I was talking to Don Soderbergh, or not Don Soderbergh, I'm so sorry, Donovan Winterberg about Reptilinks. I think this might have been when it was, and it may not have been because I don't remember everything that I said in that interview. I also had a few drinks, so I think that I might have said that rabbits are 60% poop. And what I meant to say was that a rabbit's body weight is about 33% like bowels and feces in the bowels. So what I remember about this was that the guys from Reptilinks were interviewed also by Donovan on his podcast, which is no longer really around. You can find a few episodes of it. You can find my episode of it. I'm not linking anything anywhere. I'm not monetizing this video. If you see ads on this video, it's not because I put them there. I'm just letting you know. If you see ads, it's YouTube. Anyway, so what I intended to say was that, like, according to these people at Reptilinks, who, by the way, butcher rabbits for the links, they say that if you remove the bowels of a rabbit, it's about 30% of their body weight. And he says here that I said that a mouse was 66% feces, 2/3 feces. And I know that I misquoted that. I remember saying it and then like not thinking that I said it right. And again, I'm dyslexic, so a lot of times numbers, I get flipped around and stuff. And so that is my bad. If I said that anywhere, mice are not 66% feces. And I wasn't even talking about mice. I was intending to talk about rabbits and how rabbits are only like 66% actual like meat that could be consumed by the snake. That's what I intended to say when I said that, and I just slipped up, and I do apologize. I'm really sorry about that. I don't want anyone to think that they shouldn't be feeding mice to their snakes. But he also mentions in here that if I was going to make that kind of claim, then I need to be cutting open the rodents and weighing their poop. And to be completely honest with you, like that basically if I was a good journalist, I would be doing that. For one, I don't think that a good journalist would necessarily be doing that. Maybe they would, but I was actually mentally going off of what someone who does that for a living had said, and I just misquoted them. And so I greatly apologize for misquoting. That is not what I intended to say. He also goes along to say that if it's the case that a mouse is 66% poop, then a human would be 50% poop, which is also like not a correct like comparison, because a rodent's digestive system is very different from a human's digestive system, but I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other thing. I'm going to pause again and read the next section. Okay, so the next like section talks about how he wanted to sing and he wanted to be an actor, but he wasn't good at either of those things, but he learned that he just needed to accept it. So essentially I think he's trying to tell me that I need to accept that I'm not a good writer. Maybe that he doesn't directly say that, but that's just what's in the next section, and it's not super important, but I am going through these messages point by point, and that's what I said I was going to do, so that's what I'm doing. Pausing again to go through the next section. Okay, the rest of this section is him just basically saying he loves genetics, but there's certain things he doesn't know about. Feel free to call upon him, but just not on the phone. He's always here to help. There is more, I think, so just give me a second to go get that. Okay, so I was wrong. There wasn't more. Not really. After that is when I kind of like broke down and I posted my TikTok and had recorded my YouTube video about how I wasn't going to do educational content for now. And now, then he said if I didn't post his, like our private conversation, then he would post it. And he basically, and he says that he did, like I pretty much said, like, I don't owe you anything. You definitely hurt me by some of the things you said. Basically, like, you know, I mean, I read those parts out loud to you guys, like, verbatim. You know, like how his dead grandma could write what I wrote in a shorter amount of time, and how, you know, I'm not a respectable journalist or whatever. All that stuff, like, that's supposed to be helpful, but ultimately it was more insulting than helpful. And I do want to mention that this person also, and you know what? I'm just going to bring up those emails and go through those too since we're here. Okay, so this person messaged me about my halo and or green blotch snows this year. This is July 7th that I got the first email asking me how many do I have, and pretty much asking if they could purchase all of them. And I said shipping is the same for one or many, and explained to this person how many I had left, which was 2.4, and that I had noticed all of them were starting to develop the green or yellow. I'm sorry that this is taking a minute. Pretty much then he said the main reason I want to buy them is to remove them from the market. Let's see, they are crashing the market. Let's see, I would want to buy them once they're feeding. I don't plan to keep any of them. My plan is to double the money on them. And I was actually kind of disappointed because I thought that this person actually cared about my project. But whatever. And I said, well, that's good to know. I took down the ad now because there's no more available, which was true at the time. Someone had gotten a hold of me and they didn't care about what color the snakes were. They just wanted 6 of the same color because they had 6 kids and they homeschooled and they wanted their 6 kids to all have the exact same thing to raise and to like learn responsibility. And those were the only things that I had where there were 6 of them. So I sold them all 6 for a relatively cheap price. Okay, so I don't really remember exactly how the conversation got to this, but then I pretty much said there was no more available and I wasn't trying to crash the market. And it's very difficult for me to conceive of me crashing the market because I maybe sell a dozen halo snows or green black snows every year because I really only have 1, maybe 2 clutches of them every year. And I only have about a dozen breeding size adults. So I was very confused when he was like, you can crash the market with this. And I'm like, I don't really know what to say about it. And I'm trying to see, at some point we also started talking about the Goldens, and I don't know how that got into the conversation, but we talked about Goldens, and he said, and I remember talking about Travis Whistler, how Travis Whistler hatched some Goldens, and I think that's actually up here when I said to him, you know, I have this many left, but I would actually rather trade these for a golden baby or a hat golden baby, if you and Travis would do that. And he said he isn't likely to let you buy any. Talking about the Goldens. Since none of us were happy that you essentially damaged their market value with your low public het / possibly het prices. So what he's talking about there is I posted a list of what I was going to charge for things if I hatched them this year, or I mean 2021, so like, you know, this last season. And on there I put possibly het Goldens for like $500 or something, and then like I don't know, I can't even, or like het Goldens for like 700 or something, and then possibly hets for 400 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But they were not happy about this. And of course, like, they did say that I should have asked Joe Pierce first. And Joe Pierce actually got a hold of me and he's like, yeah, I heard there's some drama going on with that. What's up? And me and Joe are actually on pretty good terms. I've never had any issues with Joe Pierce, and I don't think that he would consider that he's ever really had issues with me. And I do talk to him like probably more frequently than most people talk to Joe, at least in this community. I'm not 100% sure. But regardless, so this person said, I have not discussed with Travis, so by all means, ask him if he'll sell you any. And let's see. Trying to remember. I'm just skimming through some of the stuff that he did say. He did say that he was grateful that I sold the whole freaking golden project to him. All of the Goldens and het Goldens that he has because of me. Like, I am angry. Okay, I'm just gonna chill. So, yes, I sold him, I had a known het Golden male, and I think like 4 or 5 possibly het Golden offspring from that male. And they came from Joe Pierce's collection, and I still have a pair of them, a pair of the possible hets, who I just really got attached to. And whether they ever produce Goldens or not, it doesn't matter to me. I love them regardless. But he pretty much said like that he appreciates me, but now he's not willing to sell to me, even though I literally sold him the whole project for $1,000. I sold him the known het male and the, I think like 6 babies, at least 3 of which were female, to him for $1,000. That's like maybe $200 a snake. And now I'm asking, like, he's saying that my halos are worth like $250 a piece. And I was like, okay, well, why don't I trade you, you know, the 5 of these that I have left for 1 golden baby? And he's like, no, he's not going to sell it to you. He's not going to sell it to you. I mean, you can ask him, but I would doubt that he'd sell it to you. And of course, they're in communication with each other a lot. They work together a lot. So of course he's going to be like, don't sell it to Sarah. Just don't. And that's speculation. I could be wrong. But essentially he's saying that he would probably be reluctant to sell to me, even though I sold them that whole project for $1,000. And I think that might have included shipping. I can't remember. Even if it didn't, $1,050 or whatever. Now they don't want to sell to me because my prices would be too low, and because I didn't consult with them about the price that I would sell these for. Anyway, that's all on that section. And he did say later on that anyone can effectively crash the market, because I did say, like, I can't hardly imagine me crashing the market. Anyone can crash the market, and, you know, people will just say, oh, I'll wait till Sarah has them next year. And I'm like, and he said, it is none of anyone's business how you price your corns, but we who do this for a living often cringe when we see prices that are half retail. Yikes. And I just am like, okay. And by the way, he is the one who told me, if you don't post our private conversations publicly, then I will. Well, now I am. And I hope that it makes you look as good as you think you do. And then at the end of the day, or like at the, I think one of the, nope, there's still two more emails. I'm really sorry. I thought that this was the last one, but it's not. He was telling me that there are certain people that he doesn't get along with, but he refers to their prices even though he doesn't get along with them. Let's see. Still reading. Some of these things just really aren't. Let me pause this and read through it so that you guys don't have to sit here and watch me look at nothing. Another part of this was like 2 or 3 emails down. He pretty much said, like, if you don't want to offend people, don't charge less than what they're charging for morph or mutation. And of course, like, there was some conversation in between this, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I did try to remain civil through the whole thing and just ask questions and just be nice and just, like, give him the time of day that he was, you know, demanding at this point. And at some point, hold on, let me pause it and try to find it so I can get a real quote from you. Okay, so here's a section where he said that I shouldn't be selling my babies from my possible het golden parents as possibly het goldens, because then I'm not sure, and my buyers are paying a lot more than they are expecting for a certain thing. I think the one thing, for one, that he's not quite understanding is that I always convey to my buyers exactly what is going on. So anytime someone is like, oh, hey, this is possibly het golden, and by the way, like, I don't really sell them for much higher of a price than anything else, if a higher price at all. I don't think that any of my buyers have been super disappointed in the prices of the snakes that I sell, and I think that's part of this person's issue, is they're afraid that because I sell a snake at a certain price that like, I'm going to cut into their profits somehow. But basically, if I'm going to sell something as possible het golden, at least one parent should be known to be het golden, which I do understand what he's saying here. However, I will say that I have seen many breeders sell something as like a possible het scaleless or something like that, possible het palmetto, when there's only, like, you know, 30% chance or something of that snake being het for that thing. And I'm not saying that makes what I do correct, and I've actually changed my wording on all of that stuff, and I'm not calling the offspring of my possible het goldens, I'm not calling those offspring possible het golden anymore. I just call them, you know, whatever, normal baby from possible het golden parents, which is true. Like, I do want my buyers to know exactly what's going on, and that's why when I called them possibly het golden, I told them, like, both of the parents were from a male that was het golden, and so they do have that very distant possibility of having that. And you know, I get it. If that's not an acceptable way to label things, I'm fine with that. I won't label them that way anymore. I haven't been labeling them that way. And that's all you really need to do, is just be like, hey, I don't really feel like it's, you know, the best call to label them this. I think it's more honest to say this. And I've been doing that since then, since he brought it up. So I just want to mention that if you've seen, like, possible het golden in my like for sale ads or whatever, that's what's going on. The possible het goldens are from the parents who were possibly het golden. So you know, like, the parents of the parent were het golden. Like, So there is a possibility, but it is true. It's not a 50%. It's not a 67%. It's not 100%. It's more like a 25 to 30%. So I am sorry if anyone had that impression when they bought a snake from me. I always try to be very transparent. But if you feel that you have purchased a possible het golden from me and you feel cheated out of that, send me a message and we'll talk about refunds. I'm going to pause this again. I'm going to go through the rest of this email. Okay, so down in the email list, and I quote, "You definitely do not need anyone's approval to price your snakes. If you sold them for $5 each, no one would ever mention it. They would just tell you they didn't have any goldens or het goldens to sell you. We, who breed snakes for a living, went through the anguish and resentment of this happening over the last few seasons when we saw it. Then we realized that it's not worth losing sleep over. In some cases, the crashed morphs never rebounded, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. We can't patent our new mutations, so we just suck it up. Now, we just see how quickly we can ignore it, and we all have better lives about it." End quote. So that's them talking about how much I priced something that was differently from how they priced it. And of course, he's like, nobody would ever mention it. But obviously someone's mentioning it, who is pretty sure that their word is law. Let me read through a little bit more of this. Okay, there's just so much in these emails, and they're so long, and it's hard for me to like sit and like find every single thing. But he does mention in here that he would like never tell me what I should price something, essentially because that would be manipulating the markets. And, he's not wanting to do that. He's wanting the market to ebb and flow naturally. This is not a quote. Again, I'm not reading what he's saying. But, it's pretty much saying that if I want to not upset people who sell snakes for a living, then I need to make sure that whatever I'm selling matches the prices that they're selling it at the very least. Okay, here's the quote. "We're not price fixing when we confer with others selling the same snakes we are." So, like, essentially he's talking about fixing prices and stuff like that. And basically what I gather out of this, and this is my interpretation through my personal filter, is that he's not officially saying that he's trying to manipulate the market, but he's unofficially trying to manipulate the market by trying to tell me how I need to price my animals. And I obviously do, I'm not out here trying to crash the market. That's not my purpose. And I, as I mentioned, have less than a dozen breeding adults, including my females. So like maybe 7 females. So that means 7, maximum 14 if everyone double clutches per year. So let's just say it's going to be 10, and they have an average of 10 apiece. 10 babies apiece, that's 100 babies, which is kind of a lot, but it's not a lot when you consider these people who have hundreds of adults, or even 100 adults, and they produce 1,000 or thousands of babies. Yeah, you know what? I don't do it for a living, and I don't ever plan to. I'm not here to do that. And I'm also not here to ruin other people's lives, and I do feel terrible if this person or anyone else who does it for a living feels like I am genuinely ruining their life somehow. That's never been my goal. My goal has literally just been to bring the joy of snakes to people around me. And I'm not justifying the wrong things that I've done. But, since we were on the topic of like making private information or private messages public, he told me that I had better make my private messages public, or he would. And he said he did, but I haven't seen him anywhere. But I also haven't been on Facebook that much. However, I feel like if he did it, I would have probably gotten some sort of backlash from people who were adamantly following that person. Or maybe he posted it and the people that he posted it to were like, dude, you were being a dick. Why? Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'm really sorry that this is almost an hour long. I appreciate you sticking with me through it. I would really love to know in the comments what you would like to see from me next. I love doing educational content. I'm still very emotionally exhausted from this whole thing, but today I was able to get up the gumption to do it, and I'm, like I said, really sorry that this was an hour long. I feel bad, but I also wanted to touch on like everything that happened, like everything in the private messages, so that you all had more context, and I'm really sorry that it took this long. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Let me know what you want to see in the next one.